Digestion is the breaking down of food to get the nutrients for our body and then eliminating the waste. Through the act of peristalsis, this is performed, that food moves through the digestive system. Peristalsis is the muscular contractions that move that food through the digestive system. These are the organs that are involved in digestion. So we start at the esophagus, we start at the mouth, and we chew, swallow, and it goes down the esophagus to the stomach. Our stomach is going to start to digest some of our food. We have acid in our stomach. We do get liver involvement as our blood goes through and is purified through our liver. The liver also produces bile. It's important to have that bile because it's going to break down the carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. The liver will store some of that bile in the gallbladder, and then it's going to be released whenever it's needed. The pancreas is also another little organ that's over there, and that is the organ that produces insulin for us. Now, those things are going on outside. We've gone back to the stomach. We go into the small intestine. It starts to break down food, and again, through peristalsis, and absorbs all of those nutrients. Most of the nutrients are going to be absorbed right there in the small intestine. Then the food moves on to the large intestine, and this is where it's going to remove water and electrolytes from those fluid particles, or what's left of it. And the rest of it is turned into feces or waste. Then when we get to our rectal area, that is just a temporary storage for feces, and then when it releases, it goes through our anus and we're able to expel the feces. There are different reasons why someone might have some digestive issues. We know stress plays a big role in some people having things like irritable bowel syndrome. Your diet can affect it. There are different diseases that can affect the way that you digest food. We should teach our clients to follow a healthy diet, but things like taste, their finances, and lifestyle can affect their nutritional status. So think about if they don't have the money to buy nutritious food. We know that nutritious food is more expensive than the cheap junk food we can get. What if I'm somebody who lives alone and I don't feel like cooking for myself? So am I going to have a healthy diet? Probably not. Calorie is the energy in the food. So depending on your age, if you're male or female, your physical activity levels, your caloric needs are going to vary from person to person. There's two types of nutrients that we're going to talk about. Macronutrients, these are our proteins, carbs, and fats. They provide that body energy that it needs to function. Then we have the micronutrients. These are our vitamins and minerals that we need. We call them micro because they're only needed in small amounts in our diet. Protein is the major building block of the body. It gives us amino acids, which are necessary for structure, function, and modulation of our body processes. Protein helps to build, maintain, and repair our tissue. So if we have someone that has a wound, we want to increase their protein because that's going to help with wound healing. Some of the sources where we get protein: meats, beans, nuts, eggs, fish. The next category is carbohydrates. Carbohydrates provide energy to the body. About 45 to 65% of our total caloric intake should be carbohydrates. Now, we prefer to have naturally occurring carbohydrates such as the carbs found in fresh vegetables, fruits, milk, legumes. Unhealthy carbohydrates are those foods that are high in sugars and refined grains. Simple carbohydrates, you may hear them referred to as fructose, which is fruit sugar, sucrose, which is just table sugar, and lactose, which is milk sugar. Looking at that suffix ose, it tells us that that is a sugar. So anytime you see that ose, we know that that is a form of sugar. We need fats in our diet. Fats are what we need to absorb vitamins and provide energy. Bad fats are trans fats and saturated fats. The healthy fats are monounsaturated fats. So trans fats, we find these in processed food. People that have a diet high in trans fats are usually more prone to heart disease. It also raises their LDL cholesterol, which is the bad cholesterol, and it lowers the HDL cholesterol, which is the good cholesterol. Saturated fats are found in dairy products that are full fat, like full fat cheese, butter, whole milk. Saturated fats can increase heart disease risk and can raise our cholesterol levels, the bad cholesterol levels. Monounsaturated fats are the good fats that we want. They come from foods like avocados, nuts, olives, those omega-3 foods. And your fat intake should be no more than about 20% of your daily caloric intake. Vitamins, we use vitamins for vision, bones, skin, all kinds of things. Now, your vitamin intake should come from your diet. You should not, as long as you're healthy, you should not need to add any vitamin supplements to your diet unless you have a medical reason to do so. Everything that you need, you should be able to get from your diet if you're eating a healthy diet. Water-soluble vitamins, these are vitamins that dissolve in water. So the ones we think of are vitamin C and all the B complex vitamins. Now these are carried to our tissues, but we don't store them in our body. So every day we need to ingest some of those water-soluble vitamins. Fat-soluble vitamins, on the other hand, are stored in the liver and in our fatty tissues, and we can store these up and use them at a later time. They're most abundant in high-fat foods, and these are going to be vitamins like vitamin D, A, E, and K. Minerals help us with our body functions as well. And the primary minerals you're going to see are calcium, chromium, copper, iodine, iron, magnesium, manganese, phosphorus, potassium, selenium, sodium, and zinc. Trace minerals are called trace because we just need them in a small amount to help with some of those body functions. So you may see something like fluoride that might be a trace mineral. And water is going to make up about 60% of our body weight. So water is important for our brain. Our brain needs it to function. Water is also important because it hydrates us and it helps to flush waste from our body, and it regulates some of our body temperature. Empty calories, when we're talking about empty calories, these are foods that have very little nutritional value. So these are going to be things like our processed foods, sweet drinks, the sodas that we drink, cookies. They're not going to provide us any vitamins or nutrients or any minerals we need to sustain body function. So that's why we call them empty calories, and we teach our clients to stay away from empty calories as much as possible. Caloric density refers to the caloric number versus volume or weight. So if you eat a high calorie dense food, you're going to consume more calories than with a smaller portion. If we eat a low caloric dense food, we can eat more of it without needing additional calories, and that will cause us to be satiated. Now this is a nutrition facts label, and you see these on every product you have. It tells us the serving size. They have over the years developed these so that they make a more accurate serving size. It's also going to tell you the calories, and then it's going to tell you the percent of that caloric intake that's fat, cholesterol, sodium, carbs, and protein. Now this is based on a 2,000 calorie diet. This is the most up-to-date food pyramid. We had a food pyramid years ago. We went to MyPlate, and now they've come out with another food pyramid. They update it or look at it about every 5 years and make changes. So you just may want to familiarize yourself with this a little bit. The higher we get up on the pyramid, you see the bigger it is. Those are the things that we need more of in our diet than those things at the very tip. All right, you'll see in the hospital and in long-term care, we have various diets that we might have clients on. NPO means nothing by mouth. You might see this pre or post surgery, or maybe prior to a lab draw. Maybe they want to do some tests that they need to have the stomach empty. This is when we would use that diet. Regular diet is just a basic diet when we're getting the healthy foods from all food groups. Soft diets are diets that are easy to chew. They're also going to be low in fiber. Pureed, think of a soft and smooth diet. These do not require any chewing at all. So things are going to be like puddings, mashed potatoes, yogurt, like baby food. A full liquid diet is liquids only. Now, to be considered a liquid, it has to be liquid at room temperature. So we can put things like ice cream in this category. We can put Jell-O in this category. A clear liquid diet is only clear liquids. So the things like broth, gelatins, teas, water, fruit juice, sport drinks, all of those are considered clear liquids. And you may see some different diets, such as like heart healthy diet. This is a diet that has more fruits and vegetables. It's limited on sugar and salt, limited on processed foods. We also have renal diets. And the reason we put somebody on a renal diet is we're trying to protect their kidneys from any further damage. So they will usually be on a fluid restriction. Low sodium, low processed meats, because processed meats have a lot of sodium. Limit potassium, so that we don't want them having things like tomatoes, oranges, potatoes, bananas. We also want them to limit foods that are high in phosphorus, like milk, broccoli, dried beans, because their kidneys are injured and they cannot filter those out properly. If you have a client that has problems swallowing, you may have aspiration that may occur. And there's two types. There's overt aspiration, which is something that's noticeable. So they take a drink of water, they start coughing, wheezing, get congested, they're doing a lot of clearing their throat. That's overt, meaning it's noticeable, right? And then the other type is silent aspiration. Silent aspiration shows no signs. We have no idea if they've aspirated until we listen to their lungs and their lungs are filling up with fluid, or they have a lot of wheezing in their lungs. People that are prone to aspiration may be put on a thickened liquid. So we can say they're nectar thick liquids, they're honey thick, or pudding consistency. Sometimes a person may not be able to take food in by mouth, and so they will need something called enteral nutrition. Enteral nutrition is food that we put into the digestive tract. It does not go through the mouth. We say GI tube or a G tube, that's a gastronomy tube. So the nutrition goes directly into the stomach through a tube. There's a surgical procedure that's performed and they put a tube there, or maybe a PEG tube, you may hear it referred to as. A nasogastric tube, or an NG tube, and a nasojejunal tube, or NJ tube. The difference between those two is the nasogastric tube is inserted through the nostril, down the esophagus to the stomach. And then we can use it for nutrition or medication, or sometimes we'll even use it to remove some contents from the stomach. So if we have someone who has a bowel obstruction and we want to get rid of some of that gas. Nasojejunal tubes, they go in through the nostril as well. They go down the esophagus, but they go through the stomach into the jejunum of the small intestine. Parental nutrition is going to be IV nutrition. They get nutrients through an IV, provides all the nutrients they need. Now they can be on partial parental nutrition, which only gives part of their nutritional requirements. So maybe they're still able to eat some. Or we have total parental nutrition, which you may hear of called TPN. That gives the total daily nutritional requirements that they need. So every day they're going to get lab work done. They're going to have a certain prescription for this TPN that's going to give them so many lipids. It's going to give them all the things that they need. Now we do have to monitor their blood sugar, whether they're diabetic or not, because it has a lot of glucose in it, and it may be that we might have to give them some insulin along with this. So monitoring blood sugars on anybody that is on TPN. Another thing is whenever we take them off of TPN, we have to discontinue it gradually. And again, that goes back to those blood sugars. Their pancreas is used to sending out tons of insulin. And if we cut that off suddenly, their pancreas is still going to fire off that insulin. It can cause them to get hypoglycemic.